Prosecutors have described it as one of the largest fraud cases in U.S. history as legal proceedings against former cryptocurrency king Sam Bankman-Fried begin in New York. Once regarded as the responsible face of cryptocurrency investment, Mr. Bankman-Fried is accused of misusing customer money for personal gain after his crypto exchange FTX collapsed. That left clients nursing some $9 billion of losses. At the height of the crypto boom, Mr. Bankman-Fried was worth $26 billion. Now he's awaiting trial in a New York jail. He's pleaded not guilty to 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy, each of which could carry 20 years in prison if he's found guilty. According to legal experts, the man known as SBF has a difficult case to prove.
Well, what's unique about this case is the government has lined up Samuel Bankman-Fried's closest friends and associates, former roommates, former lovers, the people he founded the business with, all the people that have been living with him like they were in a fraternity house for the last 6 or 7 years. Okay, that's unique. These aren't just casual business associates. They flipped all of his closest friends, and that presents an overwhelming level of testimony about what happened and when. There'll be people here testifying that he directed them to pay $100 million in political contributions, and that's going to be fairly hard testimony to destroy on cross-examination.
John Coffey Jr., who is a professor at Columbia Law School in New York. Well, for more on all that, let's cross over to London, where Arise business correspondent Laurie Laird is standing by. Laurie, US prosecutors are calling this the biggest financial fraud trial in history. What's the latest that you're hearing?
Well, we've just started jury selection, Charles, and usually jury selection in something like this is pretty prosaic. You don't pay that much attention to it, but it's getting a lot of press simply with the difficulty of finding 12 jurors out of a pool of 50 who maybe have some sympathies towards Sam Bankman-Fried. The judge, Lewis Kaplan, has said he needs a jury that is balanced. He needs a jury that is prepared to be fair and impartial, and we've got a sense of what's going to be on the questionnaire that the judge asks potential jurors, and he is going to ask, have you ever been involved in cryptocurrency trading, or has anyone that any friends, any members of your family, have they lost any money in crypto trading? If they have, do you blame the person in charge of that cryptocurrency, or do you blame a regulator? So there are lots of really kind of intensive questions that may come out of this jury selection. It could take quite a long time. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyers also want to introduce things about his diagnosis of ADHD, attention deficit disorder. The defense wants the judge to ask potential jurors whether they've seen anybody who has this, whether they would be concerned if, because of this ADHD, Sam Bankman-Fried may not make eye contact, may physically behave in a way that they are not used to. So really intensive and quite unusual questions will be put to these potential jurors. They're looking for 12 jurors and 6 alternates. And again, lawyers are thinking this could take a couple of days. Again, usually a prosaic, a mundane task.
And beyond the difficulties of trying to select the jury, do we have any sense of what his defense might be?
Certainly, we've heard quite a bit from his lawyers, and they're going to argue a couple of things. One is that what Sam Bankman-Fried did, and he is accused of siphoning money that went into FTX. FTX is a cryptocurrency exchange. It's not a currency itself like Bitcoin. It is a forum on which people could trade all sorts of different cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. Now, he is accused of taking money from that operation, FTX, and funneling it without investors knowing funneling it to a private hedge fund that is sort of a sister company, and then using that money to do all sorts of things, making cryptocurrency investments, but also buying luxury products and, crucially, giving donations, political donations, which prosecutors say could top 100 million US dollars. Now, the defense will be that Sam Bankman-Fried blames this on a failure of compliance. So he's acknowledging that there were compliance failures, but it wasn't intentional thievery. So that will be one string of the defense. The other will be, and as we heard the law professor say, this is unique in that prosecutors got so many close confidants of Sam Bankman-Fried to flip. They all four pleaded guilty. They've turned what's called state witness, and the prosecutors, Sam Bankman-Fried's defense will say, look, they are going to testify against SBF in return for lighter sentences, and that compromises their testimony. Big question, though, is will he testify himself? His lawyers have given a sense that he would like to do so. In white-collar cases, it doesn't tend to end well when a defendant does testify. So that will be something that we're looking toward going forward.
Absolutely. And I wonder what sense you have, or what sort of impact this trial might have on the wider crypto industry.
It had an immediate effect in that it sort of weeded out some of the bad actors, and it sent a lot of money going to Bitcoin, which is in the crypto world considered a bit of a safe haven. Bitcoin down a little bit today, but up 65% year to date, Charles. And that's because people think, well, if I'm going to get into crypto, I may as well go into Bitcoin because there's a feeling that it is safe. I was noticing today a couple of analysts are looking for a crash in Bitcoin. But in all honesty, anybody who has predicted the direction of Bitcoin has got stung. This is such a hard instrument to trade, such a hard instrument to predict future movements.
Well, let's get away from that financial fraud trial and turn to COP28. The conference just only weeks away, yet there's a big oil and gas jamboree taking place at the same venue.
Absolutely. And this COP really has, to a certain extent, been mired in controversy because it's being held in Abu Dhabi. What is the big industry in the UAE, which is United Arab Emirates? Abu Dhabi is one of those Emirates. What's the big industry there? Well, it's fossil fuels. It's taking oil and gas out of the ground and then shipping it. So the choice of Abu Dhabi for the venue for COP28 has always been controversial. The president of COP28 is also the head of the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company called ADNOC. Now, to add to that controversy, just weeks ahead of COP28, we have this massive oil and gas jamboree. We have everybody, the great and good of the industry converging on Abu Dhabi. Now, Abu Dhabi has, taken a nod toward sustainability, toward it's going to host the COP28, and it's made sustainability sort of the theme of the conference. The head of the Abu Dhabi investment oil company has said that net zero is the North Star, and that's what everybody is trying to get to. However, we have one of the great and good, the head of Shell, one of the biggest international oil companies, has acknowledged the difficulty that oil companies have in satisfying shareholders who want to see profitability, and that can mean more drilling. We're starting to see governments urging companies to drill. We're seeing that here in the UK. We've seen a bit in the US as oil prices rise. So we've had the head of Shell acknowledging this trade-off between sustainability and drilling more. Here's what he had to say.
Ultimately, the shareholder needs to make a judgment on whether the low-carbon energy options we're putting in front of them are investable and viable. We need to be able to cover our cost of capital and make a return for our shareholders.
Now, Charles, Abu Dhabi did give a bit of a nod towards sustainability. Earlier today, they announced a massive carbon capture project that's linked to a nitrogen fertilizer factory in the Emirates. So this is Abu Dhabi saying, look, we're trying to be sustainable, but of course there aren't much of the technology with carbon capture isn't quite there yet, but it does see a bit of a tightrope that Abu Dhabi is walking right now.
Thank you, Laurie. Laird in London.